Today's video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Well, I guess the devil is in the she-tails. Hi, agree. It's me, Bussy Peep, and welcome back to Hot or Rot. And today we'll be reviewing episode 15 of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 17, where all of our eliminated queens have returned one last time to compete in a Lip Sync LalaPaRuza Smackdown for the title of She Done Already Had Herses and a cash prize of 50,000 $. So we'll be catching up with the queens, breaking down each of the 8 bracketed lip syncs from this Smackdown, and then at the end of this video taking a look at a little bit of drama involving some suspicious activity on the hashtag team posts of our top 4 on the official RuPaul's Drag Race Instagram. First up, some ketchup and mustard with the girls. We learn as the queens re-enter the workroom that Kori and Lydia have officially made their relationship official, which if you've been following them on social media, you probably already knew, but it is now Drag Race canon, officially. And so we see these two being cute throughout the episode, and we also hear about the success Kori has had on Cameo over the past couple of weeks in her Michael Jackson and Kori Toot impersonations. But some of the eliminated queens, like Arrietty, aren't all rainbows and smiles this episode. She, if you'll remember, left on kind of a sour note, where Arrietty in her mirror message wrote, "As one smelly bitch to another, Onya, please brush your teeth." A message which was apparently weighing pretty heavy on Arrietty's shoulders as she felt the need here to go over to Onya and apologize. Where she goes on to tell Onya how she feels regretful for what she did and says the behavior was unacceptable. And thankfully, Onya is an understanding and gracious, forgiving queen in this moment and says she can see that Arrietty has grown from this mistake and does accept her apology because she understands that mindset and talks about how she has once been in those shoes before. And I really appreciated this interaction between Onya and Arrietty because it's not often or ever that we get to see Drag Race season drama resolved on that season. Because, you know, normally the queens are sent home and never have a chance to do so on camera. But because this episode was filmed just a couple of weeks ago, we do get to see resolutions like this, as well as some really great self-reflective moments that I think become apparent in the lip sync performances. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into those. Which reminds me, I forgot to highlight the twist, because y'all wanted a twist, eh? Of this Smackdown. Which is that in this Smackdown, the first queen to be selected by Bruno's bingo balls in each lip sync pairing has the chance to either pick the lip sync track or their lip sync opponent. And the first queen selected by Bruno's bingo balls is Hormona Liza. And immediately after seeing her name on the ball, we hear a confessional from Hormona where she's upset, saying, "The one thing I did not want to happen was to be picked first." Which was kind of odd to me because I feel like getting selected first would be the best possible outcome of this particular Smackdown. Because, you know, she can either pick the song that she wants and rehearse the most, or pick an opponent that she thinks would be weaker than herself. Anyways, Hormona opts to pick the song instead of her opponent and chooses Liza with a Z by Liza Minelli. Then Bruno spins his big cage of bingo balls one more time and selects Lydia B. Kollins as Hormona's opponent, much to the apparent disappointment of Suzie Toot, who was chopping at the bits to lip sync this track. Regarding Hormona's performance in this lip sync though, I would say at best it was uninspired. To me, it seemed like she was struggling even in the beginning of this performance to show that she knew all of the words. Because there were so many moments where she was just walking from point A to point B with her head half turned away from the judges. And almost immediately she starts shedding the layers of her costume, which was confusing. It's like not even 10 seconds into the track, she's taking off her overcoat, which she throws in front of Lydia, which then Lydia picks up and throws in front of her. And then later she's taking off her skirt tearaway in the middle of a random lyric, and then later she's taking off her first wig and then starts brushing the other one. And not one of these reveals seemed to be done with any planning or intention. It just felt random. Hormona's performance was low energy and lacked intention, and for a song that she chose, that's pretty crazy. I'm gonna give this performance a Miss Lydia B. Kollins, though, who got to choose neither her opponent nor the song in this lip sync, absolutely turned it out. And while Hormona was just awkwardly walking around the stage, Lydia was locked eyes with the judges and showing that she really knew every single beat, pause, and word in this track, especially in those spoken word moments. Lydia's performance was absolutely hot, and she completely destroyed Hormona, and I think the judge's choice to progress Lydia on to the next round was an obvious and easy one to make. But you know what's even hotter? than a Lip Sync LalaPaRuza? Browsing the internet safely and securely with the sponsor of today's video, Surfshark VPN. Because here's the tea. Surfshark VPN uses encryption tunnels to keep your internet browsing activity safe from the prying eyes of sneaky snoopers on public Wi-Fi, and even your internet service provider, who's always watching. But in just one click, you can connect to any one of Surfshark's 3,200 secure servers around the globe, ensuring your internet browsing activity is encrypted, anonymized, and secured quicker than you can tongue pop and do a death drop. Told ya. And finally, get out of internet jail. When you virtually change your location with Surfshark VPN, you can unblock news, social media apps, and even spicy websites that may be restricted in your home state or country. And guess what, Mimi? Surfshark can also help you unblock geo-restricted content on streaming platforms like every season of Rupaul's Drag Race and Untucked. But the real gag of the season is that Surfshark can be used on all of your devices with unlimited device login. So what are you waiting for? Go to surfshark.com/Bussy right now and use code Bussy at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. Thanks Surfshark for sponsoring today's video. And next up, beep beep, Miss Suzie Toot is selected by Bruno's big bingo balls. But instead of picking the lip sync track, Suzie opts to choose Joella as her lip sync opponent. And this kind of surprised me coming from Suzie because she strikes me as somebody who would want control over what she's performing. Well, with the one and only song she probably actually cared about, Liza with a Z, being out of the mix at this point, I think she probably just thought, what is the guaranteed way that I can progress to the next round, and chose who she thought was the weakest. And Miss Joella, don't forget the Ella, selects Training Season by Dua Lipa as their lip sync track. And what was immediately apparent to me in this lip sync was that Miss Suzie Toot came into this episode hungry. Because firstly, her makeup looked amazing. She has clearly, over the past couple of months, been working on that look and refining it. And I loved how she was ready to take us on a journey in this performance. She's wearing several layers of reveal pieces, the first of which is like a big top circus tint, which I think maybe was intended to reference Eve 6000 from Canada's Drag Race and the pause for the big reveal moment. But it also, I suppose, could have been a metaphor for how the judges only saw her as a clown stuck in the 20s and 30s. I don't know. Once this is gone though, she reveals to a Rosie the Riveter costume, which later reveals to like a pop star dance costume when she takes off the bandana and starts flipping her hair. And yes, I said Suzie Toot is flipping her hair. She has lost the 1920s finger waves and is in a full curly unit. And girl, the second that bandana came off was the moment she won this lip sync. She gave us peaks and valleys, highs and lows, and gave us storytelling drama. This performance was hot. On the other hand, Joella, don't forget the Ella, was also hungry for a win, and she gave a pretty good performance, but I think she just kind of got out-revealed and outperformed by the Toot. Because in the beginning of the lip sync, she really was, I think, neck and neck with Suzie. But by the time Suzie started evolving her performance, it was clear Joella didn't have anything else planned besides her I'm fierce, look at me over here style of lip sync. I would give what Joella did here like a safe hot, but Suzie, she was the piggy of the week. And next up we have Lucky Starzzz, who's chosen by Bruno's big bingo balls, who opts to choose the song for her lip sync and selects Step by Step by Whitney Houston. And the fickle finger of fate chooses Acacia Forgot as her opponent. And let's first talk about Lucky here, who was dressed like a basketball, or I guess a very sexy basketball, who perhaps spent too much time exposed to a lot of radiation. And her makeup here in particular looks so sickening. The details of the orange and the black are just done so well. That said though, this costume didn't strike me as the best thing for a queen to wear to a lip sync Smackdown, because it's obvious there was nothing more to this costume than just the visual gag that we got from the beginning. And I was definitely enjoying what Lucky was doing here, but I kind of feel like her performance vibe in this track was a little too raunchy for the tone of the song, because there's parts where she's like crawling around the stage and, you know, doing all that, which I could see working really well for a Nicki Minaj song, but to Step by Step by Whitney Houston, I wasn't feeling that. And I would still give Lucky's performance here hot, but I just didn't get that, wow, that was crazy and unexpected feeling from watching Lucky's performance like I got from some of the other queens. And on the other hand, in this performance, we've got Acacia Forgot, who chose our lip sync track and who is, unlike Lucky tonight, not putting it all out on the display shelf. She's got on this giant reveal coat and a big curly wig that immediately scream, oh, she's gonna be doing some reveals. But I did like and appreciate the mystery of what could and did happen with Acacia's performance when compared to Lucky's. In the beginning of this lip sync, Acacia has all of her reveal costumes on and she's locking eyes with Rupaul's and giving a really good ballad style Park and Bark lip sync performance. Then she does her reveals at the back of the stage, which kind of aren't as impactful because Lucky's in the front of the stage stealing all the focus with her bouncing basketballs. But I do feel like Acacia really brought this lip sync home in the last third of the performance when she's doing the step-by-step lyric and like slowly falling backwards into a back bend, but then getting back up and then going a little bit further and then getting back up and then finally falling all the way down. And overall, I think Acacia should be really proud of this lip sync because I saw a queen with 10 times more personality and attitude and drive in this performance than I saw her give in the entire time she spent on the previous episode she was on. And her performance was definitely hot. And this was the first lip sync of the night that I did strongly disagree with the judges. And for what it's worth, I did also ask my patrons to vote on who they thought won each lip sync, and it seems about a third of my patrons also disagreed with the judges. And the next queen to be selected by Bruno's big bingo balls is Arrietty, who opts to choose the song Blow Me a Kiss by Pink, love Pink, and the drag god's fickle finger of fate chooses Kori King as her opponent. And now Arrietty started off this track with a lot of energy. Like a 10 of energy. And she stayed at that 10 throughout the entire performance, which I think was kind of what lost her this lip sync, honestly, because she did a lot of jumping and moving and twirling flags at one point even, and it felt kind of like a kid in the candy store when they've had a lot of sugar and they're having their sugar rush. And don't get me wrong, I liked what she was doing, but it just didn't feel that she was in control of her performance as, like, let's say Kori was. And I'm also gonna point out, I think she was a victim of her costume tonight, because as we've learned this season, all black outfits just do not stand out on this really dark new stage. And it was that dark outfit combined with her crazy makeup that I think hides some of the emotion in her face while she's lip syncing that prevented us from seeing how great her lip sync really was. I would still though give Arrietty a safe hot here. Kori King, on the other hand, let's just go ahead and get it out of the way, looked absolutely gorgeous tonight. This hair and mug on her is a 10 out of 10. She looks beautiful. And compared to how Arrietty is dressed, Kori King looks like a beam of light on that stage. And the other thing Kori did great was not only matching that 10 out of 10 rock star energy that Arrietty was giving, but she also had some highs and lows in her performance. She revved it up slowly in the beginning and then let loose in the middle. Whereas we have Arrietty next to her dancing and flailing and not even spending 1 second not moving. Both queens did embody the vibe of this track to me, but Kori King was the hotter performance, and I think the judges made the right choice here, and my patrons also mostly agree, but a good portion did here vote for Arrietty as the stronger performer. But what really surprised me was how the queens in Untucked reacted to Arrietty's loss, because when Arrietty walked back into the workroom, all the girls were cheering for her and Onya Nurve screamed, "You kicked her ass." But let me know who y'all thought won this lip sync below. And in the final pairing of this first round of the Lip Sync Smackdown LalaPaRuza brackets, we have, decided by the drag gods, Lana JaRae versus Crystal Envy, which is a kind of spiritual lip sync rematch between these two, who you'll remember last lip synced against each other after Snatch Game, where Lana lost her wig and sent Crystal home in her werewolf costume. And luckily for Lana, fate has it that she gets to do something unique and different tonight, and that is choose the lip sync track for her duo. And this lip sync in a word was chaotic, but so much fun. Let's first talk about Crystal though, who comes into this track with many reveals up her sleeve. She loses the skirt off of her dress, loses the blonde wig to reveal a brunette wig, and then later loses the corset over this bodysuit. And there's so many layers and moments to her performance that it reminded me a lot of her talent show where she gave us the Crystal Envy Diamond Tier experience. And if all those reveals weren't enough, she was also doing somersaults and crawling around on the floor and making love to the floor, kind of like she did when she was dressed as the werewolf. Crystal was super on, and this performance was definitely hot. But what had happened was Lana was ready to one-up Crystal at every turn. Because like, no, Lana didn't have the 17 different reveals that Crystal did, but every time Crystal was doing something fun and exciting, Lana was right there beside her, just doing something even more entertaining. Like for example, when Crystal's doing the crybaby on the floor, Lana is duck walking up behind her. And while Crystal's in the back of the stage doing yet another reveal, Lana is doing a jump into a split with those crazy long legs, and then she gets back up on the splits, continuing the lip sync. And then there's the moment at the end of the lip sync where Crystal is like laying on the floor and Lana comes up behind her and rides her, grabbing her wig, and just absolutely dominates her in that moment. And honestly, if I were Crystal in that moment, I would have been a little upset with what Lana was doing, but it's clear they've got a good rapport and they were both having fun with each other on the stage, even if it was to Crystal's detriment. And I would of course give both girls hot in this performance, but I do think the judges made the right choice by progressing Lana into the next round. And next up, as we move into the second round of this SmackDown Smackdown bracket, we have Lucky Starzz's selected by Bruno's Big Bingo Balls, and she opts to choose the song for this lip sync again, choosing We Found Love by Rihanna. And let me just say first that I think this song was a terrible choice by the producers to be included in the Lip Sync Smackdown, because it's like a club banger track that, yes, has a little bit of lyrics and ballad-ish moments in the beginning, but ultimately just turns into that fist-pumping, big beat, chorus repeating thing that is hard to give a dynamic lip sync performance to. There's just nowhere to go besides up and up and up and up. On top of the fact that Lucky Starzz's is already tricked out because she's shown us what her basketballs can and can't do. And her opponent, who the drag gods decide to be Suzie Toot, is also already tricked out. She did all her reveals and she's got exactly what we can see there on the stage. The issue with Lucky's performance though in this lip sync was that she starts off at a 10. She immediately is giving exactly what she was giving in the last lip sync. She's bouncing those basketballs, they're coming out of the top, and she's duck walking and just, you know, having a good time. And it was entertaining, but it was also all things that we had already seen before on this episode. She hit copy and paste, and I'm not gonna copy and paste the hot, but I will copy and paste the rat. Suzie, on the other hand, in contrast to Lucky, starts off this song a little bit slower. She recognizes here that it's necessary to build up the energy because she knows the rest of the 90% of the track is just gonna be a bunch of dancing and craziness. But Suzie was also really smart here in saving some tricks for this performance, like when she was checking her watch, when the beat was building, and then doing the stanky leg when it dropped. I would definitely give Suzie a hot here, but because of the song, this was probably one of my least favorite performances of the night. And I can appreciate what Jules was saying about Lucky's performance, because when Lucky walked back into the Untucked Lounge, Jules said if she were drunk at a drag show, Lucky's is the performance that she would be keying for. Which in that context, yes, makes sense, but all things considered here on this show, doesn't. And next up, instead of doing a bye for one of the girls in the first round of this SmackDown bracket, we here have a three-way in round 2. Ow, ow. A three-way that is between Miss Lydia B. Kollins, Kori King, and Lana JaRae. And this lip sync is really fun because there are two pairs of queens in these three queens that have lip synced in prior episodes. And so it's kind of serving as a big rematch between both Lydia and Kori, who last lip synced together in the Betsy Johnson Design Challenge episode where Lydia sent Kori packing. And it's also kind of a rematch between Lana and Lydia where Lana sent Lydia packing. And this three-way lip sync is to the last song available in this part of the bracket, which is 360 by Charli XCX. This track starts off really fun with all three of the queens doing like some version of the robot. And Kori overall, I think, had a more appropriate energy for this track throughout the entire song. It is a really upbeat club banger, kind of like the Rihanna Calvin Harris song, but with a little more peaks and valleys, which I think was a little more exciting to watch. Plus, Kori had some good tricks throughout the song, and then a final drop, which felt impactful. Lydia, on the other hand, is trying to gag us with a reference to the scissors that she used in the lip sync that sent her home, where she pulls them out and then pretends to cut the skirt tearaway she's got on over her wizard costume and then throws it off to the side of the stage. And this was cool, like, to see her referencing her elimination with the scissors, but it was also just like, oh, like, is that all you're gonna do with them? And honestly, after she did the scissors thing, I kind of felt like she lost my interest in this lip sync. And then we've got Lana, who was giving a really solid performance throughout the lip sync, and I think had a really great energy, but I think here it was more entertaining to keep looking back at Kori, who was just being an absolute fool throughout the entire track. And so I'd give all three girls hots, but my personal ranking of how they performed was Kori, then Lana, then Lydia. And lastly, for the grand finale of this lip sync, LalaPaRuza Smackdown for the title of She Done Already had herses and $50,000. We have Suzie Toot versus Kori King lip syncing to APT by Rose and Bruno Mars. And y'all, I really hate to report that I did not know this song going into this lip sync, but the person called Rose on this track is apparently not the queen from season 13? 14? I'm Googling. 13. I was right the first time. And instead, this Rose is like a K-pop girly, and the guy on this track, Bruno Mars, is that guy who just featured on Die With a Smile with Lady Gaga. And overall, I feel like this was a really fun lip sync from both queens, and it was cool to see this climax between them where we've had a sort of on-show rivalry as well as an off-show rivalry, like where Kori has just been absolutely tearing up and making fun of Suzie Toot as Kori Toot on Cameo. But more than resolving that rivalry, we have here on the line Suzie Toot's, I think, integrity as a performer, or at least I think that's how she would see it, and she did not come to play around. In fact, she even had one last little trick up her sleeve, which was taking off that last layer of her dance costume. And in general, I think just doing a really great job at keeping up with the pacing and adding in comedic elements into her performance. When she was doing the little like step thing with her hands going forward and backward, kind of like the Shut Up and Drive lip sync, that was when she won this for me. And when I think Kori absolutely lost this lip sync was when she did the double breastplate reveal, which was kind of just confusing and awkward because like we knew it was coming the whole episode, but I was missing the like why for this, because immediately as she does it, she starts covering them up and acting like it was an accident, which made me think, oh, maybe she's like referencing the Janet Jackson Super Bowl thing, but doing it with both, which like is cool as a reference, but I think just didn't work in the track or in this performance as a whole. I would give both girls a hot here, but consistency was clearly key for Miss Suzie Toot, and the pacing at which she delivered her performance was, well, she's a seasoned pro, and she proved it. And so Miss Suzie Toot, I think rightly so, wins the title of She Done Already Had Hers's, the cash prize of $50,000, and the exclusive bragging rights of beating Kori King in the Lip Sync LalaPaRuza. Plus, of course, the bragging rights of proving that she's better than every single person who said she was delusional or too cocky. And her saying that on the main stage to the cameras, I thought was so great because she was acknowledging that sure, she had been a little too much in the previous episodes, but also said, hey, guess what? I was right. And it was also so great for us as viewers to see Suzie Toot win this SmackDown because her win felt extra good considering the note she left on in the last episode, where it seemed like the producers and Rupaul even herself were basically telling her, you're not made for Drag Race. You can't do this. And where it felt like they were punishing her for being herself. Miss Suzie came back to this LalaPaRuza and proved she's got the talent to rise to any challenge. And in fact, I'd argue the, I'm sure, upsetting loss she experienced in the semifinals was probably only good for her as a performer because it allowed her to step back, have a self-reflective moment, and then reapproach Drag Race how many months later with a fresh mindset and the ability to show the judges that they were wrong. And now we've got a little bit of drama to cover regarding our final four. So every year leading up to the finale of RuPaul's Drag Race, their social media accounts post these hashtag team Onya Nurve, hashtag team Jules Sparkles, you get the point, posts where fans spiritually vote for their winners by liking and sharing the posts. And it's not like fan likes, shares, and interactions determine who wins Drag Race, but I do think these posts are always fun data points to look at when I'm discussing the outcome of a finale of a season. This year though, that data has been ruined because somebody is apparently purchasing bot likes on at least 2 of the queen's posts. And I'll let you guess which 2 that is. Here's the numbers. Jules has 461,000 likes on her post. Lexi has 66,000 likes. Onya Nurve has 644,000 likes. And then Sam has just 41,000. And for reference, these numbers usually don't go above like 1, maybe 200,000 likes on a big season. And usually there's not such a gap between the number of likes between the queens. And so it is obvious as someone who has looked at these like numbers many times over the years that there is something fishy going on. And that these numbers certainly do not represent the sentiment of the fans. They can't. It's impossible. These numbers don't exist. It doesn't seem though that RuPaul's Drag Race as a brand has addressed the situation, but fans have obviously noticed this and have called it out to our queens of season 17. And some of them have talked about it, like Jules, who on her X profile posted, all we can truly do is laugh because this is so unserious, where Lana responded with some crying emojis and then fans talked about her breaking records. We are though now less than a week away from the grand finale of season 17, and I would love to know who y'all want to take this crown. Let me know down in the comments below who you're rooting for. And lastly, let's talk hottest hots. My overall favorite lip sync from this SmackDown was definitely Training Season by Dua Lipa, and that is mostly, actually exclusively, because of the stellar performance given by Suzie Toot. I did though ask my patrons to vote on their hottest and most favorite lip sync from the SmackDown, and they chose Blow Me by Pink between Kori King and Arrietty. Don't forget that you too can vote on hottest hots for every episode of Drag Race I review, and watch my reactions to every episode of Drag Race I review exclusively on Patreon at patreon.com/BussyQueen. Click my link below to join right now. I want to give another huge thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Surfshark VPN, who I've trusted to secure my online privacy for several years now. So make sure to visit surfshark.com/Bussy or use code Bussy at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. Oh, and there's no risk in just trying it out because Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. And lastly, I want to give an extra special shout out to Ashton, Felicia, Laura, Matthew Burns, Mika, Minst, and Will and Tana, who are all supporting me at my Bussy Queen Collector tier at patreon.com. See you later. Love ya. Bye.